What's up guys, it's the Devil's Talon here, and in today's video, we have another installment of viewer VOD reviews. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Reep and what he did well in Solo Arena and what he needs to work on. But before I get into this VOD review guys, if you do enjoy my content or find what I'm telling you helpful, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. Also, if you want to have your gameplay reviewed, please feel free to contact me down below in the description on the socials, Twitter and Instagram. Like I said, those links are down below. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So we are landing Doomsdome main, and we have a great charge, not a ton of materials. We see an opponent looking very, very poor. Gets nice, 2 big cracks, and the opponent dies to ball damage. Alright, something that I'd talk about in a much better lobby, this would be a big no-no. One, you're 50-50ing a sniper shot, and you're sitting out aimed in on a ramp forever. And look how fortunate he was to not get sniped in the back there. Because if he had been standing still on that ramp, it could have been an easy headshot snipe, so just a little bit more awareness. And that particular engagement. So someone shocks on him. Good decision to go up right here. Bad peek. Need to make sure we're all covered when we full box. Don't have a ton of materials. So only 100 builds. Need to go for piece control there. Left hand edit, and oh my goodness, we almost died because of it. That's actually a left hand peek, right? So let's just go back through it. Gets a nice little crack. Now notice here, notice how this is actually gonna give my opponent a right hand peek, and it's gonna give me a left hand peek if I'm on this wall. Now he tries to shock away, it doesn't end up working, but notice how again, so instead of going for the piece control first, we go for the shot. So what we want to do here is we want to edit through with our blueprints. So we place that wall, we edit through, and then we place in the same mode, place that piece control early. But this is a bad edit to make in anyways, because one, it's a left-hand peek. Now it's not a bad edit to make if you're on the left side of this wall, because you're getting a right-hand peek for protection from the wall. But here, this actually gives your opponent an easy chance to crack you, and it's exactly what ends up occurring here, right? Look, as he gets cracked for 45 HP, but fortunately, because his opponent being weak, he gets a nice little clutch one pump. But again, making that left-hand peek not ideal, and in situations where you don't have this much shield or against better players, you need to edit through with your blueprints, establish that piece control, and then go for the shot. Let's go into the next engagement. So notices an opponent that comes in, he full boxes, gets a nice little crack. So opponent kind of just scuffed is pretty bad. Another option when you full box is to play that at an angle. A good opponent will read that edit down, but pretty good job on a bad player. Just be aware that you can get that floor cone control edit out, and the opponent doesn't have any choice since you had full piece control, and it's a little bit safer. A better opponent that gets boxed will be waiting for you to make that ramp edit and will counter you and hit you with a big crack. So just be wary of that. We have another opponent here. Good. I like the spraying through. This angle is really good. Beautiful. We do that there. We edit through with the blueprints. We establish the piece control and then edit with the Mongrel Classic protected. And notice how we were at a right-hand peek right here, and we don't take any damage. We duck back to the right. We're sitting a little bit more on the left. We could still hug that wall a little bit tighter just to avoid someone with a spaz. But let's just jump on in right to the next engagement. So he's getting pressured. He decides to go and crank on this opponent. A little bit. It gets hit for 62. Now, be wary that you're not going to be able to get off this big pot against even most good players, because, again, they're going to simply just pressure your wood, and it's going to break, so you don't get that big pot off. So, decides to just not go forward. If he were wanting to get that big pot off, he would need to extend in hard materials. Because if his opponent gets cracked, he actually lets him. But I would recommend extending in hard materials, double boxing, allowing him to basically have 2 boxes to play. Now, knowing that the floor is there, that crash pad play will not work. Gets crash padded with his opponent. Good tracking of his opponent, realizing his opponent's not there. Now, this is a really good angle. Gets it. But see, that is not a bad peek because he's hanging back on the left wall. Good crash pad play to get high ground. Nice little crack. See, that's the proper edit to make. Good. A good spray through right there. Sees his opponent takes fall damage. He takes the same. Double swing. Could have been dangerous. Low ping player. Now, this edit is going to be problematic, especially against a spaz. A good player is going to one-pump you there, but this is much safer. This should have been the initial edit taken after that. So, let's just talk about once he gets on the wall. So he does a beautiful spray-through clone slide right here, right? I actually was hoping I could slow it down, which I can. Beautiful. So, he gets a beautiful clone slide. Now, this peanut butter peak is incorrect mechanic. Like, it's a correct peak. However, it's not executed properly. When you hit this peanut butter, notice how he jumps straight up on this peanut butter. You want to follow the peanut butter. You want to basically glide along the diagonal line so you don't get hit, so you have protection. So when your movement, you want to jump into the left because he actually gets hit harder on return. It just jumped a tad little bit late. Now we're at 83 health against a spaz, so we're actually one tap, right? And why this 50-50 edit right here isn't good, a good player is going to recognize this and just one pump, boom. Notice how exposed you are on this particular shot, and this is not the play. Now, since you have wall control and you have cone control, you actually make a great adjustment. Realize, okay, I've got my opponent weak, but I'm pretty weak. I need to play this safer. Editing through with the blueprints, and then look at that duck back, exactly textbook, and then kind of like a little Inspire Plastic to drop him down. That angle is so hard to beat, and then you end up finishing the fight. So that's really, really good. However, just taken before that triple edit, or the three tile edit would have been safer. A good player would just absolutely one pump you in the body with a spaz, but once you play that safe angle, look how easy the fight ends. So really good adjustment, just a little bit better on the peanut butter mechanic wise, number one, and just being a little bit smarter with that particular edit on the three-piece edit. All right, so we have an opponent that's taking some shots at us, goes for a full box, and now we're scuffed. It's immediately 50-50, missed some shots. Really fortunate to have a scar there, but ends up a pretty bad opponent. Just goes 50-50 in a box, not much to say. So spraying through with a scar, unfortunately not getting any damage, but we do have high ground. Good recognition of your opponent. Now right here, I don't have a problem with that. A better opponent, you would want to establish piece control, so make sure you would get the walls and a cone slide to immediately prevent. A good opponent is going to put a ramp behind you and prevent you from getting that piece control, not just sit there and let you one edit pump them. You're on 4, so you're 0 ping players, so you're going to usually have advantage on that on most players. So good waiting right here. He's going to sit here and try to attempt to get some pre-fight damage, which he does, which is good. Gets a nice little double dink. Now the rest of this engagement is actually pretty poor. So we go through a spray through. We're just taking a 50-50. And notice how we're not building against an opponent that's not building. We want to treat every pony like they're extremely good. Imagine getting one pumped in that situation. You don't want to take anything for granted. That a kid was not very, very good. But however, we don't want to die to kids like that. There's no reason to. So just be a little bit wary. Just build for protection. And go for stuff from above, especially if the opponent's not building. Don't take that 50-50 on the ground. So he is pushing up a build fight where he heard an opponent basically get cracked. See, good right hand peek. The triple edit not being successful this time. Good chase. Now double swing, a good player is going to counter that. See, good angle with the crash pads. The opponent makes a good jump down. Better, but notice how, again, if we establish that piece control early, we don't have to worry about return fire. Establish that piece control early. So again, instead of taking the shot and then going for piece control, just edit through straight with the blueprints and establish that piece control. In that situation, a cone would have probably been just a tad bit better just because of the scuffness of the ramp, but good stuff with the crash pad and better angles, the good angles in the beginning. So we're pressuring opponent, and then we get a nice little crack. And good reload management, understanding the scar isn't reloaded. Now, I don't like going from the top here because it's 2 extra layers, and we're a little bit too open, so we get a tad bit third party. It's going to allow our opponent to heal. Now, he gets blessed a little bit here with the fact that the opponent is taking shield with not his wall, so just good recognition that it's your wall. Not much to say there. Then we immediately get in the next fight. I don't like taking that type of just bloom battle, hip firing with a scar. And then the same thing kind of happens there. We kind of take things a little bit safe, a little 50-50. We don't need. We could have gone from that back wall originally. But good job of at least hitting shots and realizing you're going to have damage advantage with the spaz. So good pressure. We see this kid in a little 1v1, 1x1. Gets floor. It's a nice little crack. Nice, good peanut butter. A little bit safer. Huge crack. And then his opponent kind of scuffed himself. Don't really need to take the SMG. The scar spray through will be better. It's much damage, especially when you're W keying like this. So we have favorable zone. Zone comes up to in Stark, and this opponent has to come all the way to Stark. Now, maybe that was the only time acceptable for a snipe, but you have to understand that pressuring this kid, if you were playing an attorney in this game, this would be an absolute free kill. You need to be just making sure you have pressure with the scar, because he's going to have to rotate up. You shoot that out immediately. You just pressure with a gold scar, because it's going to be so scuffed for him. And as soon as the pressure with the scar comes through, what exactly happens? The fight ends almost instantaneously. Now, this play is something, again, I don't agree with. The zone goes up the mountain, so there's no reason to go down to this opponent. It is a free victory royale if you just stay up there and get one tag. This is unnecessary, putting yourself in this type of risk to lose just because, hey, he could hit a massive pump. There's no way unless he snipes you in the forehead, he kills you. That's the only way. If you play up there at range and you have a scar, you can continue infinitely pressuring. We have a ton of kills, so we're going to have bouncers. But again, now we're taking a storm. Imagine he cracks you for like 150 and it ends. But we are fortunate, again, lower level lobbies. But my advice in that certain situation is just to be smart and just stay up and spray, because his opponent has to come to you. There's no reason why you should jump down there. You're going to get that kill regardless of what happens there. So from what I saw, a little bit more focus on piece control. Something I feel like that Reep needs to do a little bit more is when he takes that wall, edit through with the blueprints and get the piece control. You saw him do it once in Doom's Domain, but other times just go for the shot. Good players are not going to good players are going to counter that. They're going to put a ramp and flip. That's why you want to edit through with the blueprints and then place usually a cone, because it will end the fight faster, especially your advantage. Another thing, make smarter edits. There was times where the left-handed peek, for example, wasn't exactly the best, when you would be right on the wall and making that Dorito edit to the left side. That's actually a right-hand peek for the opponent, and you saw him get cracked in Doom's Domain when that happened. And sometimes the 3-piece edit or the 3-tile edit that's directly horizontal, usually not too common very much anymore. It's very good, I believe, for Mongol Craftsticks. If you want to do that and edit through with the blueprints, it's pretty very, very good. But the Dorito edits are better for placing down cones, ending fights faster. Just, again, you saw in that particular engagement where he eventually almost lost that 50-50. A good player would have easily countered that with a spaz and hit a body shot, and his W King could have been over. But you saw when he went over to the left and played that angle, just to do that a little bit more often. And then the last one I would like to say is just a little bit more, just a little bit more IQ in fight. So like for example, in the fight just right out of Salty Springs, just no building against a kid that's no building and turning a fight into a 50-50 because you know that you're better than them. Just again, he got a big crack. Imagine if that's a 200 pump. Just play like everyone is excellent and play confident that you're better than them, but play like everyone knows what they're doing, and just stay up there, hit your pump shots, especially if the kid's not building. Don't jump down, go for hip fire sprays and don't build, and you see what ends up happening. Sometimes it nearly gets cracked. And then at the end, like I said, another thing is like, we can maybe go for the snipe, but just realize that the opponents had to come to you up on a significant amount of high ground. Your job is just to pressure right there. You're just going through spray through with the pressure, and there was absolutely no need to drop down and actually basically put yourself in jeopardy of getting cracked and losing to Storm. No shock, so you're not going to get up quickly. Bouncers aren't going to get you up as much as you would have liked there. So it immediately turns it into a 1v1 where that opponent now doesn't have to worry about going all the way up the mountain. The only thing he has to worry about is actually out hitting you, which unfortunately Reep clutches up and gets that win. But I mean, it's a free win if he stays up there and just pressures that opponent. If that opponent doesn't have shockwaves, he doesn't make it up that mountain. There's no way that with the amount of time and the amount of spray that Reep would have to basically put him underneath with a gold scar, he want to get in. So just a little bit smarter just decisions in some certain fights, and a little bit better in terms of edit choices. And when making edits, establishing piece control needs to be done a just tad bit more often, because when you're going against good players get basically dominant because of piece control, because piece control is so powerful. So editing through with the blueprints and placing piece control, making smarter edits in certain situations, and better awareness in terms of like just some IQ in fights. Don't stoop down to opponents' levels of basically standing each other, spraying at each other without building if you've already got the cracker, feel like you're better than them, and just take freebies when they come. So you got two kids, if you're on high ground and the two kids have to come to you, just spray through with the pressure. Well guys, that is going to do it for today's VOD review. I hope you did enjoy today's analysis. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing you in the next VOD review. Peace.